Hello, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, however the case may be. Welcome to the Tractor Room Comics Reviews on the Ion Cannon Podcast and Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. I'm Matthew. He's Chris. We are both back from New York, sadly away from New York, back in our office. Our lives are fine. We're doing fine, but New York was a wonderful experience. And check out Starrapter's channel. Check out right here in the Underworld channel for all that, all of our coverage from New York Comic Con, including this coming Monday. Joel and I are gonna break down all the announcements and news, etc., in depth. So yeah, check that out. But got the buzz, the glow. How are you doing with the con withdrawal there, Chris?
Oh yeah, it was great. I ended up having a day. I always try to build in a day of rest after a
Yeah,
big convention for 4 days because man, oh man, it's something you really need. And even the people that I work with, they're like, "Yeah, you look a lot better than you did when you left. Like you
nice.
you look like you actually got sleep, and you look like you sound a lot more energetic." And I was like, "Yeah, that's why I built in that extra day." But the 4 days was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It was a different Comic Con just simply because the
Yeah,
strike's still ongoing. So
that's true.
certain actors talking about certain things and certain things they couldn't talk about. So it's kind of strange. But
Mm,
other than that, there was still wall to wall content. I barely even went to Artist Alley, which was like a first. I
yeah,
don't know how that
it
didn't
was good.
happen, but I think I took one look at that on Saturday. I said, nope, not going in there.
It
That
wasn't as
mess.
bad. It wasn't as bad. Anyway, we should dive in. First off, speaking of Artist Alley, we got Charles Soule's ongoing Star Wars number 39, written by Charles Soule, of course, art by Matovik Muzabekov, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, who is also an Artist Alley, by the
Yep.
way, uh, cover by Steven Segovia and Rain Barreto. Death Trap, a Dark Droids tie-in. Lando Calrissian has finally gotten his hands on the ancient droid with the ability to save his old friend Lobot from certain death. But before that can happen, they must escape Jabba the Hutt's palace on Tatooine, which is swarming with evil droids, hungry for droid blood. Chris, I'll throw this to you. What do you think of ongoing number 39?
Yeah, I messaged you in our private chat,
Yeah.
Matthew, and I was like, man, there's some big story beats in this one. This one felt like a very meaty issue, as Charles Soule always writes. And I like the big elements for Lobot. Big stakes in the story. I mean,
Mhm.
Lobot being the first of our heroes. Well, actually, not the first of our heroes, because C3PO has already taken over.
True.
But and I guess Biovalence wasn't taken over by Scourge. But anyway, like this is a big moment for Lando, essentially, because his best friend in the galaxy is
Mhm.
now not himself more so than he was even before. And so we have that going on. We have this big climactic moment with a Rancor. We have some great flashbacks. We have Jabba the Hutt's reaction to when his palace gets taken over by droids. We have Lando not being able to save Han Solo and Carbonite at that moment. So a very touching moment. So this was a roller coaster of emotions. Mainly like sad,
Mhm.
somber emotions, but I really got a kick out of this one.
Yeah, it was first of all the moment with the with Lobot. It was spoiled, I guess, in that ad for the issue number 40, or I guess like for the issue number 40, which is the next one. Kind of this moment. Maybe we weren't sure when they get this moment in. But yeah, it was yeah a big deal that the Scourge is finally able to take over a cyborg, and also a cyborg that we've gotten connected to ever since, especially since Empire Strikes Back, but since Charles Soule's Lando comic that dealt with him, Lobot being I guess taken over by the cyborgs. This is from 2015, I believe. Um, and so yeah, Charles, of course, being able to bring in what he set up beforehand. Yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions. Given the end for Lando, he's being brought through the ringer here. We've seen him at his most aggressive, his most angry, not villainous, not tapping into the dark side, but I was a bit
Yeah.
surprised.
Oh yeah.
The most conviction we've seen from Lando, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's been his arc, ever since he's the swindler before Bespin, now, or even in Solo. Now he's gone legit, and now he's becoming this rebel hero. With a believing in the cause, believing in his friends, and I wonder if this experience with Lobot is a part of it, a big part of it. Him saying, "Here's this person he cares about, the Empire or some other evil entity, and the Scourge is taking over." So yeah, it's gonna be really gripping to see to see Lando go through this experience. Yeah, it was odd. I mean, different, a lot of different things happening. It was a bit of a wild bantha chase through Jabba's palace, trying to avoid uh, avoid the droids, but they eventually go away. But yeah, that last parting shot with Lando on the Falcon, having to leave Han behind, having to leave Lobot behind. Yeah, it's setting up a really more emotional climax. Maybe, I mean, we didn't get any kind of announcement on this series or any other ones except for Bounty Hunters
Mm-hmm.
on the panel on Sunday. But yeah, it's continuing to tell gripping emotional stories amidst this action, and that's Charles Soule and
Yep.
Medabek
Mm-hmm.
Muzabekov's strength here. If you have any further thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny how quickly it dealt with the Rancor, right? I mean, the title of this video is Rancor Launch, so I like
Yeah,
the title, by the way.
yeah.
Good call on that one. But
Fun fact: I
it
wrote that
was
before
like,
I even read the issue. Like, okay, yeah,
but it was pretty cool. It's like, oh yeah, of course you got this talkie droid that could just send out this sonar supersonic
yeah,
frequency to just render the Rancor unconscious, and you feel the peril, like
hmm
Medevac, the way he draws this is like
hmm
so frenetic and kinetic, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm on the edge of my seat, like he's gonna grab Lando, like oh my gosh, like all this crazy, action throughout this thing, the many moments of just getting called back to this
hmm
or that, and yeah, the Scourge, man, it is. I love this crossover, how it is really just attaching so well to all the different series so far.
it's formidable, and the Scourge is formidable, but also, yeah, using it to bring these characters to their moments in Return of the Jedi. Again, I keep saying this. We wondered why this crossover is going to exist. It's definitely earned its place in the story, in the canon. So it'll be sad to see it end, but we've got a few months to go, so that'll be okay. Moving right along, Tales from the Death Star.
One moment,
Oh,
if you
sorry, go
don't
for it. You have
mind.
one more thought. All right,
Um,
sorry, go for it. Go ahead.
yeah, I had a thought last night of like
Mhm.
the crossover is doing a great job, but I can't. I think I finally put my finger on why something I'm still waiting for.
Okay.
So we looked at Vader Down, Screaming Citadel specifically. Um, those comics had like characters like crossing over into other comic stories. We haven't really seen that yet. Like I want to see Dr. Aphra in the mainline Star Wars comic series. I want to see Darth Vader in the mainline Bounty Hunter series.
Mhm.
Like seeing literal crossovers. This is more like kind of like Crimson Rain, or more or less like Crimson Rain, right? Where
Mhm.
it's like you still have their own stories, but they are part of this larger thing. So yeah, we still have 2 issues left of each one of the main series for the most part. So there's still time
Yeah.
for those sort of appearances to happen. Um, but that was one thing I was dwelling on. Like, I kind of hope we see like more characters appearing in other series.
Yeah, well, we did. I mean, we got Leia in
Oh, that's
Aqua,
right.
but that's just
Yeah.
it. That's it, right? And
That
that's
was a
kind of a
quick
side thing that's
cameo.
connected to,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's connected to Tolvan, right? Which
Mhm,
is an
mhm.
Afro character. Yeah, that's a good point. We'll definitely see. I'm suspecting something to do with with Vader. I mean, Vader, I guess, is sort of in the flagship run,
Sure.
but yeah, it's not like you want uh in the independent runs to see what
Mhm,
happens
mhm,
there.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
I'm wondering, something, because what's Luke up to right now? We don't know quite.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right. We don't
he's
know.
he this ongoing story has kind of left him on, I don't know, I don't quite remember where he is, but
Yeah, that's
we
like, oh man,
yeah,
like Luke, yeah, like Luke is my favorite character of Star Wars. So
sure.
like we don't see enough of him in the comics, which is a crying shame. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Surprising.
every time there's a Luke arc of like those 2 issues where he's got the crystal and he's on um Christophsis, I'm like, yes,
Mhm.
like we get like maybe like one Luke story a year, it seems like. Now they
Yeah.
did show off a cover for 42. Somebody was showing it off on Twitter today, and it's him with the red crystal, and there's some evil person with the crystal. I'm like, oh, that looks really interesting. So it seems like that's the first story
Yeah.
arc after this whole Dark Droids thing might be focusing more on Luke again.
I mean, it kind of has to, right? Again,
Yeah.
if he's the main character in Return of the Jedi, has to get in there. You've theorized, a lot of us have theorized that this is where they're gonna put the green lightsaber construction in. Maybe even just a shot for shot from that deleted scene would be fine. To just get that in a canon story somewhere. Yeah, no, I trust Charles Soule to sort that out. Yeah, he's done a lot with Luke and lightsabers, and he was the one who introduced Snoke with the or I don't know if it's Snoke, but Exegol with the
Yeah.
hand and
Yep.
the Anakin lightsaber, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anakin Luke
Mm-hmm.
Ray lightsaber, and of course with that yellow lightsaber that he got, and
Yeah.
then the green one. So I mean that's symbolic of his evolution as a character as well. So
Yeah.
when that happens, we'll have more to say about it. We should move on.
Yes, Obi-Wan
To
Kenobi, real quick. Sorry to
no,
throw you off
nope,
again.
nope.
I'm almost just doing it to have fun at this point. But
Yeah,
Obi-Wan Kenobi, nothing new. There's our Obi-Wan Kenobi
I didn't
review.
buy it. I didn't read it. And I'm sorry. When again, Thrawn alliances that we will
Yeah.
read, just to put that out there, that we will read, that we will cover. Definitely looking forward to that. But Tales from the Death Star, we both picked this up at New York Comic Con in advance. It's one of the first books I've read before it came out. Came out on Tuesday. Kevin Scott, written by Kevin Scott, art by a whole cast of artists: Ingo Rumling, Sue Lee, Juan Samu, Vincenzo Riccardi. Cover by Stephen Chang and Candace Han. Oh, sorry, colors by Stephen Chang and Candace Han, and cover also by Ingo Rumling. That's no moon. Even scattered and destroyed, the ruins of the Death Star are a sinister place. From the destruction of Alderaan to the shadow of the forest moon, alien creatures, phantom starships, deadly artifacts, and vengeful spirits all stalk the halls of the infamous space station as writer Kevin Scott and an all-star team of artists reveal the hidden evils that lurked within the charred remains of the ultimate firepower in the universe. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to say, okay, so this is 4 different stories.
Mm-hmm.
If you want Chris's full recap review from the con floor, check out the Starrapter
Yeah.
channel.
My foggy
But the way
mind
we're going to do
review.
this is favorite creepy concept and then favorite story. So just to simplify things, I'll go ahead and say, my favorite creepy concept. I really loved the Wild Squadron of these deceased Jedi who come and haunt the bad guys, haunt the Empire on Life Day. It's like for light and life, these Jedi who I won't claim they're necessarily Force ghosts or whatever. Who knows how this is canon? This is just tales, right? As Kevin Scott's tales have all been. But I just love this idea of even going back to High Republic. You got a Vector in there. You got an A-wing, I think, an X-wing, and different ships. You got a bunch of B1s, or not B1s, Naboo N1s, all there. It's just, I want to see more stories of that. That's so fascinating of a concept. That I mean, it's the reverse horror thing of the that Mandalorian episode on the New Republic ship, where the guy we're cheering for, he's the one haunting these other characters, and so they're haunting these Imperials. My favorite story, however, is a little different. It is the Tarkin story, where he's haunted by all the people he's left for dead or killed, including his brother, when they're on Edu, and when they're kids. Will, I forget his brother's name, but he's like Will. We learn later it's Will Huff, and so haunted by that. And the most poignant point of that is recontextualizing his final moment, where his death. The recontextualizing that arrogant confidence and our moment of triumph is really just masking his sense of guilt and his sense of I've paid, am I gonna pay the price for all these lives? Almost a karmic idea. In our moments of triumph, he's saying, no, I'm invincible. I'm not gonna bear the consequences for all these deaths, all these star systems slipping through my fingers. No,
Hmm.
it's the Death Star. We can do what we want. We're the Empire, darn it. And yeah, I mean, no, since 1977, we know how that's gone. It's a really wonderful way of picking at that moment and saying what's underneath it, what's underneath when someone is overcompensating with that kind of arrogance that the Empire does all the time. So that was my favorite story. Chris, thought to what your favorite creepy concept and favorite story, quickly, kind of briefly.
Yeah, I like the concept of the zombies little episode, little short story in there with
Mhm.
just the idea of like, oh yeah, we always know that the Emperor has all these cool Sith relics, and some of
Yeah.
them, like we've seen with calling back again to the Lando series from 2015,
Mhm.
just the mask that is mask of moment that can possess somebody. So it's like, yeah, why wouldn't there be some kind of device that like literally makes troopers dead? I mean, as we've seen in a recently release for Star Wars,
Mhm.
there was something to akin to this. So
Yeah.
it's like like you said, these are tales. Are they canon? We're still not quite sure. But apparently, at one point, the Death Star was being partially built by a bunch of
Oh
dead
yeah.
troopers. So
So
that idea of that is just a Death Star being made by undead.
yeah.
It just works, and it's just really funny. It's just like that cautionary tale of like,
Mhm.
how much will somebody like go down the line of like just dealing with horrible stuff to
Mhm.
get what they want, because it all resides around the fact that, and we had a from a certain point of view story revolving around the whole sentiment of, oh, we will double our efforts with
Yeah.
mock Jerjerrod. Like there's a whole short story in there, and now we get more contextualization of, yeah, it's never Jerjerrod's problem, it's the middle managers that
Yeah.
have
It's always
uh,
past them. It's
it's
always past
it's
them.
always them that are going to get
Yeah.
the brunt of the punishment. So this guy has to scramble and get something going. So I like the idea of like, and then Vader intervenes, and
Yeah.
it's just fantastic. Of course, you got to get Vader in here. It's the Death Star, so I like that story. But yeah, I also second you with saying like my favorite story is the Wilhelm Tarkin story,
Mhm.
because this does what canon does so well is it recontextualizes moments in the Star Wars movies. Now, I'll never forget when I watch A New Hope and I see Tarkin's last final seconds. I'm like, oh yeah, he was haunted by all these memories, and like the beautiful artwork, the splash page. Sorry, I forget. I don't remember the name of
Yeah.
the
There's a
artist
whole
on this
group
one.
of artists. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but just had this whole splash page, double page spread of like every person that was responsible. That he was responsible for basically killing, including Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, and director Krennic himself was like just haunting him.
Saw
This
Gerrera.
was
Yeah.
fantastic stuff right here.
Mhm.
Loved it.
Yeah. Uh, Definitely really great. I mean, all ages comic, great for October. Was fun to glad to be able to read that on the plane home from New York. Um, yeah, that's when I read it. Yeah, yeah, just to read it in advance because we were able to see it, get it at the con. Came out on
Yeah.
Tuesday. Um,
Mhm.
one last. Okay, I don't know if you have anything more to
Oh
say
yeah.
about this one.
Yeah, I got a couple more things.
Okay, go for it.
So, first of all, I like the fact I know it's hard with publishing, I know.
Yeah,
IDW was never able to get out Tales from Vader's Castle in the month of October.
right.
They always put out in November. I think one time it came out in January. So I'm like, yes, Dark Horse. They finally did it. They
A few
finally
months
got it
late,
out
you know.
timely.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were at the convention. I just was, walking around Lucasfilm Publishing. I'm like, oh my gosh, the book's not even out yet. So it was a nice surprise. I'm surprised they didn't put it on StarWars.com that this
Mm,
was releasing earlier. It was only a couple days earlier. It was not like a whole month or anything like that. But regardless of the fact, I'm happy for that. Also, we got sequel trilogy content, so I got to shout that out,
mhm,
because Lucasfilm, whether or not people like to say there's an agenda that they don't when they want to sweep sequel trilogy stuff on the right, no, we get some cool sequel trilogy stuff with none other than Kef Beer. I mean, when's the
mhm.
last time we heard of Kef Beer before? Probably a Skywalker Saga video game, if you ask me. But seeing a subordinate of Janna getting haunted by this character that was actually a character from the
Right.
first story with the Dianoga was like, oh, this is a cool callback to the original Death Star.
Mhm,
Like this is like 30 years later or something like that. So it makes sense. So I love the idea of the Spectre cautionary tale giving this kid like, no, you don't want to go out there. It's nothing but
yeah,
bad news if you happen to go out there. So
mhm,
I love the framework, the framing of the story of just,
yeah.
yeah, we got this kid that gets warned by a Spectre.
Yeah, this was one of the more successful framing devices, I'd say. Some of them have been with these adventures, the Dark Horse IDW adventures have been hit or miss. This one definitely had its own arc to itself, and the progressive haunting of these Death Stars, of the power of the Death Star. And so how this guy having this morbid curiosity, he's trying to prove himself and say, oh, I can actually do this. I can go off by myself. Of course, he ends up getting in trouble, and Jana needs to save him. Also, yeah, great point. We haven't heard about Jana much. We thought we get these stories with her and Lando exploring the galaxy or something after Rise of Skywalker. So great job by Kevin Scott to bring them in and bring Kef Beer in. And yeah, the whole conspiracy theory about them, I don't know, retconning the sequel or whatever, ignoring the sequel. I don't see that at all. Yeah, definitely great. I mean, and even the benefit of time, right? To look back, let these haunting legends germinate in the ether, just like with Luke Skywalker, kind of germinating in the ether on the light side. Let these dark side stories develop, and yeah, it was a great way of leading us through, of leading all ages through. It helped with the flow. It didn't harm it, which sometimes it does. So, yeah, there's that. Do you have any last comments on this one?
Yeah, I think I'll just say
Okay.
it's basically I like, and I told you this at the convention there.
Hmm.
I like
Yeah.
the idea, and we got the news that there's going to be more releases like this from Dark
Yes.
Horse. As far as you're going to have these original trade paperbacks,
Hmm.
and I like the idea after Hyperspace Stories number 12 finishes up that Dark Horse focuses on these collected editions, because these are, I love these things. I love
Hmm.
how I can sit down for 45 minutes and just get a full story. And then you go to Marvel to get your single issues that carry on for years and years and years and years. But at
Yeah.
least with Dark Horse, it's like, yeah, you get those trade
Hmm.
paperbacks maybe one every 2 months or something like that. So I like the
Hmm.
structure. I really do. And this is great. So I want to see more of this.
Yeah, and I mean that's another thing is you can just release it in October because it's basically the length of a longer single issue is this one.
Hmm.
So you can just release that in October. Yeah, we're talking about the Qui-Gon Obi-Wan comics original graphic novels coming out in January. Yeah, I'll be curious to see that. And Joel and I are going to talk a bit more about that on Monday. But you like your theory, are they going to? I think, and we even mentioned that in our coverage. Are they going in that direction? Because we know the industry is somewhat going in that direction. Is preferring collected editions. Readers are preferring these collected editions. Makes them feel more like novels, a bit more literary. Even though these are all ages, a lot of people, the single issue, the printed single issue, it isn't going as the way of the dodo that we thought. I think John Jackson Miller has a lot to say about that being a matter of collectors, for a collector's item. I think maybe even Kevin Dean, or who no, who's the one who does all the research on comics. It's one of them. And so yeah, but it's interesting if they do end up going the Star Wars licensing for comic books ends up going in this what's it called, division of labor, then yeah, I mean, why not? And I think younger readers too will probably appreciate that. It's a very smart business decision in that case as well. So yeah, good on them. Can just release this. I mean, Tales from Vidr's Castle is great. Let store what of the Ghosts of Vidr's Castle, those
Hmm.
longer like monthly periodicals. But then those were collected too, and every comic is also collected. Maybe they're seeing that the number of the sales uh, they're all are a lot higher for those
Mm.
editions. I know a lot of people wait for the single issues
Yeah.
to come out or wait for all the
Hmm.
single issues to be done.
Hmm.
And Marvel, the thing about Marvel, I think maybe you were mentioning this or somebody was mentioning this once, they delay the collected editions, the trade paperbacks, for a while,
Oh.
like for a few months, and whereas Dark Horse seems to get them in quicker. I don't know, because I mean, they Marvel still wants to encourage the print single issues as well. So there's that. Also, I mean, Dark Horse. This is just a little tidbit about Dark Horse. They do both licensed and like the big. They own them or I guess Lucasfilm owns them, and they also do creator owned. And so
Oh.
I know Megan Wong, when she was doing her independent comic, that was creator owned, but it was single issues, and they do
Hmm.
that as well. So yeah, again, this is just another sort of kind of a tangent discussion about the industry. I'll be curious. I want to maybe ask. I know there's some folks I know who are really much believers in graphic novels of the way of the present, of the way of the future. Um, yeah, we'll see. I mean, different stores emphasize different things. We know the Barnes and Noble Indigos, they only do collected editions. Maybe that's where their sales are up. You know,
Hmm.
they can have this identity of here's here's a book, and unfortunately, it's a little bit unfortunate the stigma of the single issue comic,
Yeah.
but not necessarily. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I think maybe that's all we got for Tales from the Death Star. Lastly, Galactic Tales: Lost in the Woods. This is the insider short from insider issue number 221. This is written by St. Bendy. I read it last night. It was. I'll just say, it was an interesting. There's no summary for this. Uh, yeah, it was an interesting contrast a little bit with having just read the ongoing comic. Very heartfelt, well written. I love that the interaction, the Wicket grabbing on to 3PO is like still this deity he still worships, almost like but almost like a kid who, I mean, Wicket isn't necessarily a kid, but they're kind of I don't know, not
I don't know
infantilized, not
what
in a bad
age.
way, but
Yeah.
they're still, I mean, they're more vulnerable, of a more vulnerable species a little bit, until the that monster comes in and Wicket's all sticking his staff into his face and trying to fight. I really, the first part, it was more heartfelt, and then this enemies to reluctant allies storyline with the Imperial officer, Imperial pilot, and then they're able to find the Abednego pilot as well. Yeah, member of Rogue Squadron, and uh, that again, that point at the end. This is how the Rebel Alliance is supposed to treat people. This is how the light side treats people, even enemies. And Wicket exemplifies that most of all, and is the strongest character in that way, in that sense. Then at that closing point, that the Imperial pilot wonders, if the tables were turned, if the Empire had won the Battle of Endor, if the Empire was still, if Palpatine was still alive, you if she were in the stronger position, would she rescue the rebel? Would she leave him to die in that pit with the monster? Probably. And so that question, at least a nagging question, maybe the right side won, and it gets at the moral, these stories that get at the moral through line of all of Star Wars is unity and compassion and courage, moral courage. Even if in the moment, again, thinking about Qui-Gon, it's
Hmm.
not, I'm gonna, that famous quote in Master and Apprentice that I love. It isn't that we win some kind of cosmic game, it's because it's the light, but that ends up boding well for more
Hmm.
people in the end. And uh this ended on a nice little high note. Now that I've kind of jogged your memory, what do you think of Galactic Tales: Lost in the Woods?
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of Ewok stories. Like, oh my gosh, I know it's the Return of the Jedi era,
Yeah.
but I think I'm ready to kind of put the Ewok tales to bed for a couple of years after this
Mhm.
one. I kind of got my fill, but
Yeah.
other than that, it's kind of cool seeing. Yeah, it's a story. I feel like I've experienced a story on several occasions at this point. This sort of
Yeah.
thing where it's like the fallen Imperial is very, against the idea of getting help from the rebellion, and then
Mhm.
in a turn of the tide type of moment ends up
Yeah.
saving the rebel that's in trouble. So it's nothing new. It's nothing I haven't seen before. But I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I was entertained by it. But I mean, it's kind of like run by the numbers sort of thing for me. I don't
Fair
really
enough.
have any other thing to say about it, honestly. It didn't leave that much of an impact for me. And oftentimes, unless it's the High Republic Star Wars stories in the
Mhm.
Insider, like they don't really leave much of an impact for me,
Sure.
without putting it as nice as I can.
Yeah.
They don't
I
leave an
teach their
impact for
own.
me to really remember. We were going before recording this. I'm like, wait, what happened? Oh yeah, there was a monster. Somebody fell into a pit, was saved, and that's basically all I remember about
I mean, I just read it last night, so to be fair. Yeah, I mean,
it.
teach their own, sure. That's fair. I mean, good news, next issue. Interestingly, there are gonna be two stories. There's gonna be
Yeah.
a Return of the Jedi story and phase three short story, High Republic is back. Phase three
Yes.
is on the way. I just
Conclusion
finished
zone.
phase two. I'm just starting Tales of Light and
You got
Life.
to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so just as a note, I will read. I do have Shadow of Starlight.
Good.
Probably going to end up reading issues 1 and 2 together, if I can. I'll read issue number 1 whenever I finish Tales of Light and Life.
Yeah, because they're
But
separate.
yeah, they
Like
are.
each
But
issue, Charles was telling us is going to be focused on a different aspect of the High Republic. The
mhm,
first one's about the Jedi Council.
sure,
The next one is about specific Jedi Elzar Man and Avar Chris. The third one is going to be about something I don't remember, and the fourth one is going to be a Markion Row.
that guy. You can lift your arm up and point to that guy, Mark
Oh,
Yinro.
oh,
There,
oh!
there we go. In our logo. In our logo. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
That guy. That guy. The Iron Cannon logo, at least. Yeah, Markian. Yeah, I think it's good that Markian's back. Excited for that. Excited for phase three
Oh, I'm
as
so
a whole.
excited!
It's gonna be great.
Started off with a bang. I can't wait.
Yeah. So I know I was a little behind, but that's life. I moved. Things happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm gonna catch up soon enough. Yeah, and then definitely bring talk about Shadows of Starlight issue number 1 in here. And then issue number 2 when it comes out in November. Until then, yeah, Chris, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube primarily at youtube.com/Starrapter. I just started up a project that I started several months ago, and for whatever reason I stopped. I'm going to be
Mhm.
playing through the Jedi Survivor story. I have a video coming out on Friday for my part 3 on Jeddah. So if you're
Nice.
interested in that, I am making sure that is story only. There's a lot of videos out there, people playing the game, and they're doing a lot. They're dying a lot, and they're just randomly wandering. I'm curating this game. I've
Nice.
edited my own footage from earlier today, so you don't have to sit through and watch me die 5 times on a boss. I'm gonna try to give you guys exactly the meat and potatoes, and that's it.
Mhm.
So youtube.com/Starrapter for that. You can follow me on Twitter for my ramblings on games, on Star Wars, and in skateboarding pictures and videos every once in a while.
Mhm. Yeah, you're doing the forces work with that Survivor recap. That's fantastic to hear. I want it because they did all the side quests. Are you doing the side quests too, or not bothering with those? Chris, are you doing the side quests or?
No, 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 I'm not doing a side quest.
Okay,
I'm
good.
making a
So
beeline. I've gotten every cosmetic in the game already on my
nice.
first playthrough,
Yeah,
so there's no reason for me to go anywhere else. I'm just making a beeline
there you go.
through New Game Plus mode.
Mhm.
Funny thing is, every time I load the game in, Cal has a completely different appearance because there's a really cool perk in
That's
the
fun.
game
Yeah,
that you get after you beat the game once, where it, like, auto randomizes everything. So
yeah.
you might see me with a purple lightsaber, you might see me with a mohawk, or you might see me with some kind of like short hair in the front, long hair in the back, kind of mullet type of thing. So yeah, go check that content out. It'll be fun.
Why the heck not? Yeah, I'll definitely check that out because when I first did that playthrough, yeah, the first one I saw, the story was okay. This I think I'm gonna appreciate the story better. So that's great to hear. Also, speaking of your channel, the recap for ongoing number 39, I was able to
Hmm.
sneak that into the notes today. So go check that out, folks. Yeah, you can find me at the Ion Cannon podcast. This is right here on the Star Wars Underworld channel. This Monday, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Joel and I are going to chat all about New York Comic Con, as I said. If you want my quick and dirty recap of New York Comic Con, go over to Starrapters Chris's channel, and I give a whole rundown. Just talk for 5, 6, 7 minutes about my experience there. Just enjoying the con. It was a really wonderful time. I'm sad it's gone. Sad it's over, but you can check out my photos. I'm going to start uploading photos like a week look back on my personal Instagram, MNEUG1138. You can see right there. I am on Threads. I am on Twitter at NEUG45. Threads I don't really use much. Our the podcast Instagram at Ion Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. Trying to get that up and running a little more. Also, same handle on Twitter and Threads as well. Again, not really using Threads, but it's there in case you want to follow. Give us a like and subscribe, etc. Yes, and everything here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel. Check out, made 3 videos from New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
2 with this guy over here.
Mm-hmm.
Which way are you? There you are.
This way, yeah.
Yeah, and then one with Anna from Tales from Beyond the Galaxy. Yeah, and that was great, and it was a really great time. Check all those out, and yeah, join us Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and it works next week, next Thursday, right here, 12:15 p.m. Eastern for the Tractor Beam Comics reviews. Until then, have a good reading, have a good week, and happy reading.